Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I am here with my friend Sameer, who is all over the industry, well known as one of the top IT professionals in the call center and collection space, and now has come out with a new product, Collaborationroom.AI, that we're going to talk a little bit about today because I think it is just such an exciting product. How you doing today, Sameer?
Doing great, bud, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to come to this forum and share with folks what we are doing. So, extremely excited to be here, and thank you again, Adam, for giving us the opportunity to share with folks what we are doing.
Absolutely. So, for those that have been living under a rock or might be new to the industry and haven't had the opportunity to meet you yet, could you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Absolutely. So, I'm an IT guy, so I don't know a lot of people. So, thank you for your kind words, Adam. I mean, IT people, right? They're shy, they live in a server room, not great people skills. Yeah, all of that apply to me. So again, this is a great opportunity to go out and share with people not only about myself but about the product. So I started my career in India. I'm ethnically from there, if you couldn't tell by my heavy Indian accent. Did my engineering, and I was working for a company called Tata Telecom. And Tata Telecom was a unique company. It was a joint venture between Tata's, which is one of the big powerhouses in India, and at that time Lucent Technology, who were making all
Mhm.
these wonderful PBXs, and the big BPO wave was on. So you had companies like what was called Jackass, and now it's Genpact. All these companies looking at exploring India in the late 90s as a destination for BPO. So I was very fortunate to work for them, got the opportunity to work on a technology called Conversant IVR, which was Unix based. So led me on to another opportunity. They sent me for a training, believe it or not, about 10 miles from where I live now. Life comes around in a circle. So I first time I came to United States was in Seattle for a training in Redmond, Washington, where they sent me to be trained on a product called Mosaics. So
Mhm.
Redmond's known for Microsoft. That's where
Of
Microsoft
course.
headquarters is. But I came here for to get trained on a product called Mosaics, which Avaya had acquired. It's called Avaya Predictive Dialing System, because I was one of the guys in the company who knew about Linux and Unix and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And made some good friends, and one of them, offered me to come work for them in Minnesota, and they said they'll do my H-1B, and I was in my 20s, right? And I didn't like, yeah, sure. I was excited. Let's go.
Mhm.
Come back to India after the training. Actually, at 9/11, I was here, and everybody remembers where they were at 9/11. 9/11, I was in Seattle at the Canadian consulate trying to get a visa to go to Canada. Go back, and that's a totally different story. But go back, go back to India, and within 6 months, believe it or not, yeah, I have a H-1B visa
Wow.
on my passport, and ended up in Minnesota. Now nobody told me how cold it got over there. So,
That must have
um,
been a shock coming from where in India did you grow up?
well, my dad was in the army, so I grew up all over the country. But
Okay.
my family's from the north, so now they're settled in Delhi,
Okay.
or New Delhi. So yeah, I'm from that area. But spend time in Pune, Devlali, that's a suburb of city called Nasik in Maharashtra. Spent some time in Delhi. Spent some time in a town called Meerut, and then spent quite a bit of time in Jammu Kashmir in Jammu. So that's a big
Okay.
army cantonment over there.
Sure.
Yeah. So 2002, here I am in Minnesota. Made some really good friends. Learned how to high swish and what have you. Um, started working for this is the company was called Universal Systems. We had a
Mhm.
product, and we had a collection agency, Bureau of Collection Recovery, BCR, out of Eden Prairie, and had a lot of fun working over there. Did what most people in Minnesota do, go work for some of the big companies over there. Like, so I did a year at Target, and decided wanted to come back and work for BCR again, or was given the opportunity to be their CTO.
Mhm.
And that's really what started my journey into management, into ARM space, was
Mhm.
being the CTO for BCR. We implemented Latitude, we implemented new dialer, what have you. And one day the owner walks in and said he's going to sell the business, and we got acquired. And here, I I was like, okay, what next to do? Started to go, moved out of Minnesota, went to Arizona for a very short period of time, was working for a debt buyer. And then one of my very good friends, who you also know, Adam, Nathan Anderson, called me and said, hey, um, we're implementing this new collection platform, and trying to build something on student loan, and we need a couple of panels. And that's exactly like, it was, hey, we need to build a couple of panels for it, is what he told me. And we're looking for somebody with that background. And I never wanted to move to California. I always thought California was busy, a lot of people, what have you. uh, Flew in and met the CEO at that point in time, and they made me an offer I couldn't say no to, and here I am, you know, uh, in California, in Woodland Hills. And what a great journey. We are a really good, we are a really good team. We rode the wave of student loan,
Mhm.
the highs of student loan, and um, had a lot of fun working with that team, and still very good friends with those people. And um, the student loan wave went away, as we know. Um, and then I moved to Seattle, still being the CIO for ACT Holdings. In the meantime, we went and acquired a company called Convergent Outsourcing.
Mhm.
They're predominant, diversification, right? We were predominantly student loan, and this was a company that was very well respected in third party collections, first party
Mhm.
healthcare. Um, Great strategic fit for us. Uh, Again, learned a lot about other verticals. Moved to Seattle, and um, 2000, all these years blend together, right? 2001, the owner decides he's going to sell the business again. And I'm like, okay, this is sounds sounds familiar.
Sounds like the luck of your
um,
draw.
yeah, it's like, you join a company, it's X, and then you make it grow, a couple times X, and they decide they want to. So anyways, everything happens for a reason, and couldn't be happier where I am. I mean, I wear two hats,
Mhm.
and pretty pumped about it. And was started Collaboration Room. For I'm the CEO founder of that organization, and then got an opportunity and interacted with a gentleman named Tim Haig. He offered me a role in his organization, and like I said, everything happens for a reason, and this has been a really really fun journey. So excited to be here.
So right now you're still, operating within the collection space
Yeah,
yourself, and so ultimately you are kind of your own client, which is a position that I've found myself in this industry
yeah,
a couple of different times, which I find to be very interesting. But what I wanted to focus on today was Collaborationroom.AI, because I'm just so intrigued with the technology itself and what you've been able to do with that company in such a short period of time. Can you tell everybody a little bit about what Collaborationroom.AI is and what
yeah.
problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so let's start with the problem I'm trying to solve. When COVID happened, I was CIO for ACT Holdings, and we had a couple thousand agents across three different continents, right? In U.S.,
Mhm.
Latin America, um, uh, and Philippines. And I happened to be sitting in a training class where we were a predominantly brick and mortar facility, like everybody worked in. And here's a training class, and it's a first party training class. And the trainer and I am just pulling my hair out because we got all these agents, and we're trying to log them into a first party client system. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, Adam, why don't you share your screen now? You share your screen now. Sameer, why don't you share your screen now? Like, it's something that should take 20 minutes. It's taking 2 hours. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? There
Mhm.
absolutely has to be a better way to do this. So um, had a nephew, and I have a nephew in India, and I, said, hey, COVID had happened. Their placements got delayed. They'd recently passed out from a very prestigious engineering college. I said, hey, let's get a couple of friends and see if we can solve this problem. Like, how do you engage your employees just like you did in a brick and mortar facility? How do you support them? Just like you would, just like a trainer would walk the floor and say, okay, that's what you got to click, that's what you got to click, or something like that, right?
Mhm.
So we built. So I got these young kids and myself, and I started learning JavaScript. It had been a while since I learned a new programming language. I did VB6 and SQL and things like that, mostly Microsoft. So it was like a challenge, right? Hey, let's learn JavaScript, let's learn WebRTC and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we built an MVP, and I'm glad we don't have any images of that MVP anywhere or any of that, because it was ugly like anything. Um, Pretty, like clicking on icons didn't move all the time and stuff like. But I showed that MVP to a couple of friends in the industry, and that made me believe that there's value to what we are doing.
Mm-hmm.
There is a real need for it. Um, what's funny is the product was not called Collaboration Room first; it was called Training Room, because I was specifically trying to solve the training issue. But when I showed it to some of my peers in the industry or some of my friends in the industry, they were like, great, we want to use it for training, but more so, we want to use it for day to day operations and day to day management, right? Because the concept is still the same. It's
Mm-hmm.
the supervisor supporting the agents, partnering with them, working with them. And then, yes, we have an aspect of compliance. Most of the call centers that we talk to or we're partners with have a lot of PII information, have a lot of PHI information, taking credit cards and all of that stuff. Sure, you're going to do a background check on Adam Parks when you hire him, but are you also doing a background check on Adam Parks' spouse or
Mm-hmm.
Adam Parks' partner? No. So how do you know somebody didn't just walk into the room and listen into the conversation, right? Or how do you know if Adam doesn't have a cell phone taking pictures of all the data that he has on his screen, right? Um, so we built the product. We recently released version 3.4. It's been an extremely exciting journey. We are very fortunate to have some of the customers that we have, and frankly, Adam, I'll just tell you, like I'm a IT guy. I'm not a sales guy, and I'm not operations is also something that yes, I've started in a call center, but I've partnered with the operational leaders. And the best thing about the product really is our customers and the feedback they're giving us and the product roadmap that we are building with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are most excited about, is how they're using it.
Well, the feedback cycle is absolutely integral to the process, right? Like
Yeah,
when we built
yeah,
ComplyArm, the first
yeah,
version of it was
yeah,
embarrassing, as any
yeah,
good minimum
yeah,
viable product would be,
yeah,
right? You're going to roll. The first thing you have to do is proof of concept and
yeah,
minimum viable product, and then you can grow from there. But to go and think that you've got a finished product before you've brought it into a marketplace and let people break it, and that's what I
yeah,
always used to do, was hand it to my friends and say, "Try and break this."
yeah,
Let
yeah,
me let me know what happens. Let me
yeah,
know which click does it, right? Like
yeah,
you kind of
yeah,
want to monitor
yeah,
that and get a feel for that development
yeah,
cycle. But then your product just has so many different potential applications, both from a collaboration standpoint, even from a sales standpoint. Because I know the first time I saw the product, I went,
yeah,
"Oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could better understand how people felt about
yeah,
the different slides in my deck and be
yeah,
able to treat it like that?" So I think there's a lot of really interesting applications to the technology that you've developed. And now I know you guys have some patents pending and that kind of
yeah,
stuff. So, for those of you that haven't seen Collaborationroom.ai yet, the way that I saw it, and it may have changed because you've probably been through some version releases since the last time I saw the product.
yeah,
But what really excited me about it was you're able to see everybody that is logged into the platform. You can see what's on their screen in real time. And then the video tool set is
yeah,
identifying anybody else that walks into the room. It's identifying other potential threats to the security of the data that that person may have access to on their screen, which I thought was you're really kind of handling a couple of different things. One, you're ensuring that your team is being productive, but at the same time, you're also positioning yourself to help that team to be productive.
yeah,
And so when we're a manager in a call center environment and we're walking around and we're looking at everybody's screen and what they're doing, there's only so much information that you're really gleaning from that. So if you can sit behind a large monitor and really get a feel for what's happening, and I know you guys have been building some triggers and some other things to
yeah,
alert a manager to something that they need to be paying attention to, because if I've got 50 agents under me, and I'm sure that there's some clients that are trying to stretch it further than its intended use, right, in terms of how many people should be on an
yeah,
individual screen, because I know people like to push the
yeah,
envelope as
yeah,
much as
yeah,
humanly possible, right? But that's it. That goes back to putting things out into the marketplace and seeing how your clients react with them and how they actually use them in the real world prior to being like, this product's done.
Yeah, no, I mean that's look, just what you said. I should have probably recorded that and used that for a sales pitch because you probably described it much better than I ever will. And somebody, I've we had customers come in. One of our customers said, "Hey, we want you to build this piece out," and we were trying to talk it over, and they said, "You know what? Why don't you join our room and we'll show you what we're talking about, right?" So they had us join collaboration room, and that's probably the best sales pitch I could ever do is show them how a customer is using it and what they
Mhm.
like. It was just unbelievable. Like, hey, people are raising a hand, people are doing private calls, the chat, it's all happening real time. In our space, I've had operational leaders use terms like, I can hear the money on the floor,
Mhm.
right? I can hear a buzz on the floor. And it literally is that experience in a virtual environment. And the soup is like, guys, I can't, like, we'll have to do this some other time because you know what, I'm busy helping my people right now. So what I need built, I'll come back to you separately, because right now it's production, you're taking me off from my floor. So it's
Yeah.
literally like, you're taking me off from my floor, I'm helping my team, we're collecting money. Well, so yeah, it really is. You have to see it. And I know myself, I'm not a sales guy, so I don't do a good job at pitching it. That's why, best thing that we do is, hey, have us talk to our customer, and
Mhm.
uh, get their feedback on how they're using it. That's probably the best way to.
When your customers are your best salespeople, you're doing something very, very right.
Yeah, and
Honestly, I
yeah,
did. I am a good salesman, but I did very little sales for Comply Arm. Most of the
yeah,
sales that were happening for Comply Arm were happening between my customers. My
yeah,
customers were talking to their friends about how they were solving the problem at hand. And I also
yeah,
think it's interesting, your product was originally designed to deal with the COVID remote environment. And I think
yeah,
that that remote environment will linger on for a period of time. Um, but what I find interesting about it is it also, if you're dealing with these large call centers, I was in India a couple of months ago, and
yeah,
one of the things that I saw while I was there was these massive call center rooms, right?
yeah,
And yeah, they like every other collection operation, they've got the elevated floors for the manager
yeah,
to see and all that, but that tool set still has application in the real time environment itself because you're not getting up and walking around. You're able to monitor a lot more, and you're able to soak in and evaluate a lot more information because now you've got AI assisting it, right? Like you've got all of these additional features and functions that are layered on top of it that your natural manager is not physically capable of doing.
yeah. It's that's our pitch, right? And I was at the ACA conference
Mhm.
that was in Chicago, and I was introduced to a gentleman, and I pitched it to him, and he said, "Well, I want to use it from a brick and mortar because I have managers and supervisors in one geographical location, but their agents and their teams are in another location."
Mhm.
And that's something that we are seeing now is, they're beginning to use it even for their brick and mortar. We have a customer currently that's 100% brick and mortar, but using the tool. Um, for their supervisors, just for the reason you say, because at one point they can't look at all 9 people or their 12 people or what have you, right? They can't look at
Mhm.
all the out there, and they're using it. And this was something, goes back to me saying, hey, I built the product for one specific application thinking that's where it's going to be used, but our customers are finding new use cases for it, um, and leveraging it for. So we are seeing that shift, that some of our customers are using it even for the brick and mortar besides the virtual environment.
I think
So
anytime you develop something this, insightful, and you put it into people's hands, people are going to find different ways to use it. It's always been. It took me a long time to wrap my brain around the idea that every time I hand somebody the same product, they view it differently. Like when we built Compliant, we put it out into everybody's hands. I
yeah.
had a view and a vision as to how everybody was going to use it, and I don't think there. I had two clients that used it exactly the same way.
Absolutely. I mean, we see the same with our product. Like some of them, like we're building features out and we think that are useful for them, and some of them like we don't even use the feature, or like we build out private calling and audio, and some of them, "Look, we don't want our agents to use the private call audio or chat. Can you make it a permission, right?
Mhm.
So for these teams, we want to turn it off for these teams, and that's the beauty of software building, right? When you build software, you build it with a certain, you think that's how it's going to be used, you give it to different customers and they use their creativity
Hmm.
and get feedback to you, and you look at it and say, wow, I didn't even think of the. And we're the first, like, I'll tell you, like, we're not the brightest people in this industry. There are so many, like, the most beautiful thing that's happened to us is we met so many intelligent people and so many bright people who have given us feedback to help us make the product better,
Hmm.
right? We're basically like, wow, okay, that's a great thought, we should build that piece in. I feel like we have some really smart people working for us, and we have some really smart um, customers. We're just the note takers over here, right? We're just the middleman. We're like,
No,
that's a
look. I completely understand
yeah,
that. So when we originally developed Complier, one of the things that we did was we went to all of our clients and we said, okay, there's two different ways that you can request an upgrade or an enhancement to the
yeah,
platform. Right? Way number one is you can tell me I want this feature. I want it just for me. It's only going to be available for
yep,
me. Okay, fine, but we're going to charge you an hourly fee to complete that work. Right? Like
yep,
there's going to be a fee associated with that.
yeah, yeah,
However, if you let me take that great idea that you just had and I'm allowed to deploy that across my entire platform, then we're going to put it into the dev cycle and you won't pay a dollar for it. And I don't think I ever had somebody pay for a customization
yep,
only because they were like, well, all right, so if I can collaborate with everybody, it's free, right? They know that their competitors and their friends are getting it too, but nobody knows who put in what. So
yeah,
everybody's getting a better system all the time. Everybody's
yeah,
getting more value for the dollars that they're spending with me, and they're getting the features and functions that they want. But I'm able to deploy that intelligence across the entire industry. And when we were dealing from a compliance standpoint, we were one of those ways in which everybody was able to collaborate on compliance regardless of your relationship with various organizations, which I think created a unique ecosystem.
that's exactly what we're building, right? So um, the price of the product is the price of the product. It's all inclusive. Like when we
Mhm.
show features, people say, hey, we need you to add this. Is that additional? We're like, no, we're gonna build it in for you, right? We don't want to be it's we want to be the company that's it's all, you get everything in the product, right? It's up to
Mhm.
you whether you want to use it or not use it, right? And and you know it's the more feedback we get, the better the product gets.
Sure.
That's how we look at it. So you know uh, it's helping us improve the product. Pretty excited about where we are with 3.4. Even more excited to where we are going to go with it in the next few months. We're taking a little bit of a we got it to a certain version, and now we're looking at this and saying, guys, most of the cosmetic stuff is done. Like, sure, people want certain features, what have you, but how do we go to the next level, right?
Mhm.
We're really looking deep inside as an engineering team and trying to see how we can really build this where it becomes a standard operating procedure for an organization. It becomes a part of the company's DNA sample where you know right now the agents are using it, the supervisor are using it, the managers are using it. How do we make it so that your chief operating officer, your CEO, is also logging in on a daily basis, and it becomes a part of the DNA sample of an organization? So those are some of the things that we're working on. Pretty excited to see you know what the smart people in the team do in the next few months and come out with.
Well, with everything I've seen you guys rolling out, I know that you're going to get there. It's just a matter of time. Keep collaborating and being
Yeah.
great. Samir, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. This was a really fun discussion. I always appreciate an opportunity to hang out with you and to just chat for a few minutes. You always have such passion for what you're doing and such great ideas, and not just ideas, but the ability to execute on those ideas, which I think is that missing ingredient or that key ingredient that has driven your success in the industry.
Thank you, Adam. I think you're being too kind. I think I'm just starting my journey, even though I've been in this industry for a few years. But still, it still seems like I'm just starting my journey. And thank you for giving us the opportunity. It's friends like you that help us share what we have built, and couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity you're giving us. Thank you.
Absolutely. For those of you that are watching, if you want to go take your own private tour of Collaborationroom.AI, you can go to their website. I'll also have their web link, their LinkedIn, and Sameer's information below the video in the description so you can reach out to them directly for your own demo of the product. If you have additional questions you'd like to ask, you can leave those in the comments below. If you have additional topics that you'd like to see Sameer and I cover, and I have a feeling he's going to have to come back for some of the webinars that we're doing on technology development, and we'll coax him to come back on camera with us again in the future. But until next time, Sameer, thank you so much for coming on
Thank
with me
you.
today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
We'll see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.